Hi, welcome back to the Frugal Gardener. I wanted to share with you some of my favourite plants that I've got in the garden. And about 3 years ago I was introduced to this particular species of plant. This is Coprosma, and this particular variety is called Pacific Sunset. It's an evergreen, so it stays like this all the year round. The foliage is quite spectacular. It's when the sun shines on it, it's like looking through a stained glass window. The leaves are so translucent and you can see the different colours in it. It's a wonderful genus of plants. I think it originates in South Africa, but it's grown all over New Zealand. It's not supposed to be totally hardy. They do say it is a hardy, but keep out of winds. Well, to me that seems to say that it isn't hardy, because if most times in the winter you'll get a wind, sometimes with a frost, and so you'll lose it. I've got 3 different plants in this genus. Another one that I really do like is this particular one, and this is Coprosma lemon and lime. There's the 2 distinct coloured foliage. It's a lovely plant, and as it's evergreen you get colour. It's better seen close up than further away, but I did a tub for the patio. 2 more of my favourite plants is this angel wings, which is Senecio or Senecio, whichever way you prefer to pronounce it. It's Candidans. That again I grew from a cutting from last year from a parent plant I've got in the garden, and this particular one, which I love, is Amelianthus major. I just adore the foliage, the architecture of the leaves, and the colour. It's got this lovely blue hue to the leaves, and it's quite a striking statement in the garden, and it's tropical looking, which gives you a feeling of you're in the tropics somewhere. The third plant that I bought is this one, and this is Coprosma Evening Glow. It has this red tinged with the white, with the 2 shades of green. Another lovely plant. The gloss on the leaves of all this genus is quite something. They literally sparkle. This is quite a reasonable plant to buy. As I say, I'd never come across it until about 3 years ago, and the Pacific Sunset that I bought was about £15, and it was the same size as this Evening Glow. Now this Evening Glow I picked up this year earlier before the lockdown, and it cost me £6.99 from Longacres, which just goes to show you can get bargains if you look round. Another plant I love is this Picea, the blue. It's very slow growing, so it will take donkey's years before it gets to any major size, but I just love the texture of it. If you feel the leaves, it's like rubber, like a really soft rubber, and it's just a wonderful plant with the blue, and as it gets taller it'll give us colour contrast in the garden. One of my favourite plants this year has been this Cleanthus major, another evergreen, and that's been left where it is in situ against the fenced outdoors all year. It's not supposed to be hardy, but this has survived really well. Takes very well from cuttings as well. It's also known as the lobster claw because of these wonderful flowers that look like lobster claws. It's obviously going over its best at the moment. It's had literally hundreds of these flowers on there. I've been forever picking up the petals on the floor, but it is superb. Highly recommend it. I bought it in Cornwall about 2 years ago, and Another exotic that I like growing, this is the first time I've been able to get hold of this. I got it from a trade show at well, not a trade show, but a show at Wisley Gardens. This is Tetrapanax. It's also known as the rice paper plant, and this should get huge. I'm hoping it will get to about 5 foot eventually. It is hardy as far as I know, but I kept it indoors this year, so it's taking off at the moment, which is really nice. Another plant that's very nice is the Pyrus. I did lose this. It looked totally dead at the beginning of the season. It came out lovely, and then the frost completely killed off all the new growth, but amazingly it's all come back again, probably just in time for more frosts that are on the cards for this weekend, which is a shame, but we shall see. One of the projects I did was putting this planter in. It's a plastic pot. It'll cost you a fifth of the price of a terracotta pot because of the size of it. And I've put bedding geraniums in. The pot in the middle with the succulents in is just there temporarily because I'm going to put my Brugmansia in here, which is going to get huge, which is angel trumpets. That should get about 4 or 5 foot tall, depending on what sort of season we have. If it's warm and we don't get cold nights, then the Brugmansia will take off and look quite spectacular. I think it's a pink one that I've got. Another favourite of mine is Campsis. I've got 2 sorts in the garden. I've got one that's more exotic and I keep in the greenhouse over the winter. And this is Campsis grandiflora, and this has much, if you know Campsis at all, it has rather larger flowers than the ordinary Campsis radicans, and this forms a huge panicle of flowers on the end of stalks on it, and it does look quite spectacular. It's an orangey colour, orangey yellow. The last 2 seasons it's been quite magnificent, so I've kept it in a pot. I've repotted it up, pot it up each year or so, and see how it gets on. Another favourite of mine for coloured foliage is this Sambucus nigra, and this one struggled the first year I put it in. Whether or not it doesn't like the clay, I don't know, but it's about to flower, and it gives you, I like to put lots of plants in the garden that give you colour all the year round, and so the foliage is important. The architecture of the foliage, which gives you a striking contrast, and the colour, and that means that before all your summer bedding or herbaceous plants come up and start flowering, the garden's going to look, it still looks quite spectacular. You know, you can still get a lot from it. So I've put my bedding plants out, and as I say, the frost is due this weekend. According to the weather forecast, we weren't going to get any, but it's going down to 2 degrees here on Sunday. So today's the 7th of May. I'm beginning to wonder if we won't get away with it, or we will. This is the Cleanthus from last year. I grew this about two years ago, and the frosts got it in the winter and it totally died off. But this one I bought last year, so this is coming up to this is its 2nd season, and look how much it's grown, because it was tiny like the cutting I showed you in the pot. Has these large flowers. The first time I've seen it flower, but again the foliage is so striking, and if the frost does cause damage on the leaves, then the best thing to do is cut it hard back, and you'll get all this new growth that's coming up at the base, which is really good. This is the old Senecio from last year. 1 or 2 of the stems have died back, so I've cut them off, but it survived the winter quite well, and this is the parent plant that I took the cuttings off. Things for wonderful coloured foliage, the heucheras, Heucheras are really good for the garden, give you great colour. This is a couple of years old, survived the winter really well, and looks really good. Again, I've used a golden conifer to give colour contrast, as well as planting herbaceous in between. That's probably all I want to show you for the moment. As things come out, I'll show you other things that I think are really good for the garden. So for now, I'll say goodbye.